So did you get them?
Yeah, we got them.
Did you get them all?
Every single one of them. Make sure to have the servers ready. The people need to see this.
Stop! Sky Mavis Police!
Okay. What do you want?
Hands on your head!
Alright, look, just don't hurt me.
Alright, drop the leaks.
Look, man, these leaks are for the people. They deserve
Shut
this.
up! Then
Hey.
drop them!
Alright.
You have the right to a silent whisper. If you can't afford one, a scholar will be appointed to you. Anything you double talk, canon will be used against you in a Mavis court of law. Your leaking days are over.
Hello Axie Faction, welcome back. With all these card leaks coming out every week or so, it's really easy to get carried away on insane combo ideas. And I know I'm the most guilty of this out of anybody. But these cards are only a small piece of a much larger puzzle. And for us to truly understand the bigger picture, we need to look at runes and charms. Although I will tell you about my new favorite combo at the end of the video. But first, I am not an expert or a financial advisor, and it is always risky to buy anything based on speculation. I am simply a gamer who happens to love Axie Infinity. And now with that out of the way, let's get right into it. Now the first thing I want to do is clear up some misconceptions from my previous video. Now I have always been a believer that in Origin we will continue to have 2 cards per body part, the same way we do in Battles V2. And that's because 36 cards per deck is a lot more similar to what we're used to seeing in other traditional card games. But recently, one of my awesome Discord members showed me something that forced me to reconsider my whole idea. And for this, we need to take a look at the infamous Metat8 leaks from all the way back in October. This leak gave us some very unique insight into some candid gameplay from 2 regular players. And by doing some very basic math, we can determine how many cards we will actually have in Origin. First off, we can clearly see that the player currently has 13 cards left in his deck. Let's get a counter going in the top left. Next off, we can see 2 cards in their hand with 1 currently being played. Now it's important to note that the coin card you see here isn't a typical Axie card. This is a card that is automatically given to the player who goes second to help balance the advantage gained by the player who goes first. So in our deck measuring contest, we only need to worry about these 2 cards right here. Next, we can see that there are 5 cards in the discard pile, so we can add that to our total. And finally, we can see a 1 in this jar right here. What is this jar, you ask? Well, if we take a closer look at the emblem on the jar, you'll notice it is exactly the same as the symbol we see on all banish cards. With that in mind, we can safely assume that this jar is a portal to the Nether Realm, where banished cards end up after you play them. So we can add 1 more to our total, giving us a final tally of 21. But with 3 Axies in total and 1 card per part, that should give us 18 cards, not 21, so what gives? Well, the way I see it, there are 2 possible solutions. And for option number 1, I want to refer to the Guillotine post Q&A with Shade. For those who don't know, Shade, or Jeffrey Cam, is a Sky Mavis employee focusing on product design, but he has been very active in the Axie Infinity community. Make sure to check him out. You could learn something. But back to this Q&A, one of the very interesting things I noticed is that Shade says that there will be only 1 rune per Axie. Now, as a quick refresher, the Substack tells us that runes give new passive powers to Axies. But it's the choice of words here that really has me intrigued. Because if you've been paying attention to the recent card leaks, you will have noticed Bumpy, which is not a skill or attack, it's actually a power card. Meaning, once you play it for the first time, it will always be passively active on that Axie. So is this sentence about new passive powers actually hinting at power cards? Well, the math adds up. We know that there will be 1 rune per Axie, and each of these runes could provide a new power card, giving us 3 new cards to add to our total of 18, which gives us 21. This could be the answer to our question, but remember, that was just option 1 out of 2 possible scenarios, and To be perfectly honest, I think option number 2 is a lot more likely. And the second option is that the discrepancy we see in the card total could very well be from cards like, well, from cards we see right here, like Tadpole, that shuffles 1 Jinx into your opponent's discard pile. In fact, if you look at the recent card leaks, there are a whole host of cards that do something very similar, and this is most likely the cause of our card discrepancy. And for the final nail into this theory crafting coffin, we can actually look at the top right where it shows us the enemy's resources. And based on this image, we can see 8 cards in the deck, 4 in hand, and 6 in the discard pile, giving us a total of 18. So we can safely assume at this point that we will have 18 cards per Axie comp. Anything beyond that enters the territory of speculation. But hey, I know you read the title. This video is not about how many cards we're going to have. This video is about the new meta moving into Axie Infinity Origins. So let's get right into that. Currently in Axie Infinity, the meta is defined by balance patches, where certain cards are buffed or nerfed, and the players are then left up to find the best combination of cards for their Axies. Now, this method is very similar to, say, League of Legends. With their huge roster of characters, they're able to keep the game fresh year after year after year. But Axie is not a MOBA, it's a card game, and traditionally card games have used very different methods to change up the meta and keep their game feeling fresh. Usually this comes in the form of a constant influx of new cards, forcing the players to have to buy those new cards in order to compete at the highest level. And Sky Mavis is certainly taking inspiration from this, but it's not the cards that will be changing season after season. It's the runes and charms. Now, we've already spoken about how runes will provide new passive powers to Axies, similar to the new card text for Bumpy. But just afterwards, it tells us that charms are wearables that enhance an Axie's inherent abilities. And if that's confusing for you, Jiho actually put it in very simple terms on Twitter. He says, charms are modifiers that can be attached to cards, enhancing them. With that in mind, we can now safely determine that this additional charm text is going to be added to the card that it is attached to, giving that card brand new utility. This is absolutely massive. Now imagine you have a Axie team comp, but you realize over time that you just need one more backdoor card to really get the full utility out of that team. In the past, if you needed that extra utility, you would have had to breed that Axie yourself or maybe buy it on the marketplace. But in Origin, you could just attach the Sun Stamp card to any one of your body parts, now making it a backdoor card. If you have been paying attention to the new card leaks, you may have asked yourself, why do so many of these cards look exactly the same? We have Risky Beast and Risky Fish, Jaguar and Piranha. These cards themselves don't have a lot of variety. The variety, the class bonus, the utility of the Axie, whether it be damage or tank, it's all being replaced by this new system of runes and charms. So despite how awesome some of these card combinations are, they might not mean anything if we don't have the right runes and charms to really compete. And remember, these power-ups are not forever. They will be replaced by new runes and charms every single season, causing us as players to always be on the lookout for not only the best combination of cards, but the best combination of runes and charms as well. This is the new meta, and of course the cards will still have balance patches, but those will be truly that. A patch to find pure balance, and the meta will be determined by what runes and charms we are allotted each season. So now that we understand the full scope of importance that these power-ups hold, what else can we find out about them? Well, we know that Axie purity will play a big part in which Axies can attach the most powerful charms. We also know that the Axie's body type, meaning the Axie's class, will now be a factor in that purity. So if you have a mech with all beast body parts, that will not be considered 100% pure. It'll be considered 6 out of 7 purity because you are missing out on the beast body type. And coming back to this charm leak, we can start to see hints of this new purity system at play. You can see that epic charms have a requirement of 3, while mystic charms have a requirement of 5. But this does not mean that you can always equip a Mystic Aqua Charm as long as you have 5 Aqua body parts. The system is a little bit more complicated than that. In fact, Shade provided us more hints about this on the Guillotine post. He says that there are currently no charms that require a 7 out of 7 purity. A 7 out of 7 purity might be able to equip 3 really good charms, but a 6 out of 7 purity will only be able to equip 2 really good charms and 1 mid-tier charm. So if you are the person with that 6 out of 7 purity mech, do not worry because there will still be utility there, especially now that we know that there are unique charms specifically for mechs. Now when looking at the marketplace, you'll notice that for land items, there are 4 different kinds of rarity. There's common, rare, epic, and mystic. So I would not be surprised to find out if there are more types of rarities for charms as well. Now Shade has also told us in that post that we will have a maximum of 6 charms per Axie, 1 charm per part, maximum. So depending on the charm rarity, we could potentially be buffing every single card on our Axies. Now 6 charms per Axie is a lot more than what I was expecting, especially considering we will only have 1 rune per Axie, which probably means runes are going to be a lot more powerful than these charms. But how powerful exactly is yet to be seen. Now, I did tell you that I have a new favorite card combination in Battles V3, and if you've been paying attention to the card leaks, this shouldn't come as a surprise to you. And of course, I am referring to the Shoal Star Aqua. Now, for those who missed out, Shoal Star has quickly become one of the most popular cards in Origin so far, and it's not hard to figure out why. It may only have a base stat of 50 damage, but its effect is so much more powerful. It reads, if the target has no more than 120 HP, kill it instantly. And yes, this ignores shield. So if you're able to fulfill the requirements of this effect, this card goes from a 50 stat card to a 120 stat card for 1 energy.
That's a lot of damage.
So coming back to this card combination, you'll notice all you really need to do is attack them with 1 Koi and 1 Risky Fish before they're low enough health to be instantly one-shotted by the Shoal Star. And yes, Risky Fish will apply weak to this Axie, causing him to deal less damage. But it's not the damage output you're worried about with Shoal Star, it's the effect, and that is untouched by weak. Now it's easy to see why this combination is overpowered, but you have to remember we still haven't seen runes or charms, and it's very possible that one of those could counter this easily. In fact, in this Twitter post, Arvton comments, now imagine a rune that prevents an Axie from dying the first time and leaves it at only 1 HP instead. Whereas Masamune, the lead artist for Axie Infinity, comments, you don't have to imagine. What? So hopefully you see now that these card combinations aren't the only thing that matters, and runes and charms are going to play a huge factor. But that being said, if you want to know what other card combinations I think are going to be great in V3, you can check out my video here. I'll see you there. Thanks.
Yeah, we got him. The leaks too. Eyes, ears, the whole lot. So what do you want to do with them?
Put him in detention cell 3.